Yep.
Hi, everyone. This is Caroline with the Expat Interviews, Thriving Abroad, where I give you the opportunity to go all over the globe and meet the most amazing, wonderful people who are living and thriving abroad. They're just doing their thing. And I'm really excited and happy to introduce you to a gentleman who is thriving abroad, and he's doing his thing in beautiful Philippines. Lawrence. Thank you for
Hi.
joining me.
No
I'm
problem. My pleasure.
excited because the Philippines has long been on everybody's radar, I'm sure. At one point or another, we've all thought about what it would be like there. But first, just tell us a little bit about your expat journey. Where are you from originally?
Me, originally, I'm from Los Angeles, California, a little suburb called Palos Verdes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You're a Cali guy, huh?
Yeah, SoCal.
Good. So your expat journey, was it, did you just decide to travel? Did you wake up one day and decide you wanted to just see the world, or how did you get out?
It was kind of like, I don't know, it was a progressive journey. It started off as me, well, my background is military. I did 15 years in the military, and I had traveled primarily with the U.S. Army, deployments, training, doing joint humanitarian missions and stuff like that. And it got to a point where when I was coming up on my time to leave, I wanted to actually travel the world on my own terms. So I was at a point in my life where I decided that once I get out of the military, I actually had an application to go into the police for the LAPD. I had one for the LAPD and one application for the Las Vegas Metropolitan Sheriff's Department. And on my last deployment in Iraq, because that was about 1 year before I got out, something just hit me, and I decided that I wanted to become a scuba dive instructor. I don't know where that came from. It just kind of popped in my head. And that's what I did. I literally, once I got out the military, I canceled all my applications with the police department and the sheriff's department. And I spent about 4.5 years and close to $15,000 on this journey of becoming a professional scuba diver. And that's what I'm doing here now.
Now, were you a swimmer?
I've always been a swimmer. Yeah, I grew up in
Okay.
Southern California. So I grew up in, like I said, I grew up in Palos Verdes, California, which is a beach community. So I grew up near the ocean, swimming in the ocean, exploring marine life. I'm actually kind of surprised I didn't go into marine biology when I was younger, because I'm fascinated by the ocean and, corals and, sea life, whales and fish and stuff like that. But that just wasn't the path for me. So I did end up going into the military, but swimming, water sports, water activities, that's always been something that I've enjoyed. And it just seemed like a natural fit for me to become a professional scuba diver. I have a lot of friends from back in the day. They're surfers and scuba divers as well. So I'm just part of that whole club.
Yeah, they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Wow. So okay, so you made it to the Philippines, and you're teaching, or how did you start out?
Yeah. Well, before the whole COVID-19 pandemic hit, we had a lot of tourists, from China, Korea, Germany, England, Italy, people from all over the world. Especially if you're in the scuba diving community, the Philippines is one of the most beautiful places in the world to come scuba diving. Everyone that's into scuba diving knows about the Philippines. There's Philippines, there's Egypt, there's India, in where is that? The name slips me right now. I can't think of it. And we'll get back to it. There's so many places. There's England. There's so many places in the dive community that just people know these are good places for diving, and the Philippines is one of them. So we're not getting so much tourism now. Most of the tourism that we get is local Filipinos coming here for diving, because the country's opened up somewhat, but it's not opened up for international tourism yet. So, I'm just kind of in limbo right now, but it's okay.
I know from having worked with Filipinos, and
Mhm.
I feel like I know a lot about the community. Very hardworking people, very friendly for the most part. What has it
Yeah.
been like your experience as a Black man there? What can you say to your experience?
Oh, well, you know what? I have not experienced any negativity here. As far as like me being an African American, I'm really well received here. Um, I I joke around with my friends and my family sometimes because I tell them that the most racist thing that's happened to me in the Philippines was I was walking to the little convenience store right down the street, and there was a bunch of little Filipino boys, and they were running behind me, calling me LeBron James and they had a basketball with them because they wanted to play basketball with me.
Oh,
And I was like, you know what? I'll take that. As opposed to what could transpire and what's actually happening. Me being called LeBron James being the worst thing that's happened to me in this country, I'll take it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, as far as someone wanting to put that on their list of possible places to live, I feel
Mhm.
like, and maybe you'll agree, a plus because most Filipinos speak English, or a
Yeah.
large portion of the country, they learn
Yeah.
English.
Uh-huh. The English is a second language taught here. Most Filipinos have a really good command of English for the most part. You will run into some Filipinos that speak strictly Tagalog. They don't have any idea what you're saying. And there's other dialects here. It's not just Tagalog. Most people don't know that the Philippines is it's an archipelago of 7,000 islands. And on a lot of these islands, there's still tribes of people that live on these islands, and they have their own cultures and their own dialects and their own customs. So even within the Filipino world, there's still little branches of things that are just not Tagalog. But I live on the main island of Luzon, and that's primarily spoken Tagalog with English. So you'll see a lot of mix between the two. They call it Taglish, where it's a mix between Tagalog and English,
Yeah,
and it's
I've
really
heard
easy to
that. Yeah.
catch on. And like I've been here for about a year and some change, and I've picked up a lot of Tagalog, and I can speak it for the most part, but having long conversations, then it gets a little bit more difficult. But if you fully immerse yourself into it, you can pick it up really easy. But they do speak English, so it makes things way easier for people that are just here short term.
Yeah. And what
Yeah.
about the food? I'm assuming
Oh
that,
my God.
yeah.
The food here is delicious. Um, it's not like your typical Asian cuisine. It's distinctly Filipino. The Philippines has a history of colonial influence from the United States and Spain. So you have this really weird hybrid of like Western European, Southeast Asian, Chinese fusion thing. And it sounds crazy, but it works. And there's just so many dishes that are just, you would never think, how is this food? But it's delicious, and it works. So Filipino food is delicious, and it's really like no other. You can't really explain it. It's not like any other Asian cuisine.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Let me see what else folks would like to know if they were considering. Maybe what about cost of living? What is it like to live there? I mean, an
Wow.
apartment.
Okay. Yeah, that's an awesome question. So the rate of exchange here is 50 pesos to $1. So your US money goes really far. Um, right now I'm living in a two-bedroom apartment, and it's a really big two-bedroom apartment, and I pay 5,000 pesos a month for it. 5,000 pesos is about 100 US dollars.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
And my apartment is literally 5 minutes walking to the beach. Like I can see the beach from my house. Um, you have to think, for an apartment that close to the beach, with the amount of room I have, you're looking at almost $2,000 a month,
Back
probably
in
more.
California, right?
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So, and then, so healthcare is really cheap here. They don't have a socialized healthcare system, but they do have, if you're a Filipino citizen, what's called PhilHealth, and it's a national insurance program that you pay, I think, 1,000 or 2,000 pesos a month in, and it helps you with your coverage and everything. But if you have U.S. money, I mean, you're talking about for like a simple checkup or a basic procedure, you're probably only going to spend 30, 40 bucks. I've gone to grocery shopping. Typically in the United States, if you spend $100 at the grocery store, that's just like, you got a thing of eggs, some milk, maybe some chicken, some bread, maybe a bottle of wine, and that's it. That's your food for the week, right? In the Philippines, $100 will get you a month's worth of groceries. For the entire month, I'm stocked up on $100. If you go to the mall, like with $100, like you can tear the mall up. Me and my wife went to the mall. We go to the mall pretty often.
Yeah.
And I mean, we bought sandals for everybody, shoes. I bought video games for my PlayStation, random stuff I don't even need. I mean, we had about 3 or 4 shopping bags full of stuff, and I only spent $100. Now in the US, $100, you probably got a pair of jeans and a shirt.
Yeah, maybe.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And it's really good quality stuff too. A lot of it's made in China, but what China does is since China is the manufacturing hub of everything, they sell the American brands to America with the American label, but then in Asia, they sell those same brands, but with an off-brand label, but it's the same stuff. So we get it for way cheaper here.
Wow, that sounds amazing. And
Yeah.
I'm going to add that your quality of life is really just a few tones down from, if you came from a big metropolitan city like LA or New York or London.
Yeah.
I mean, your blood pressure goes down a bit. Is it
Oh
just
my
laid
God.
back?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Absolutely. It's definitely a trade-off. This is not America. This is the Philippines, and it's still a developing country. So there's certain luxuries and just like things that you're used to living in the Western world that they just aren't here, and you just gotta have to deal with it. Sometimes electricity will go out. It'll probably be out all day. It's hot. Sometimes your water might go out. They don't really have, they don't use showers here. They use what's called a tabo, and it's just like a little water dipper, and you have your bucket, and you turn the water on, and you fill the bucket up, and throw the water over your head, and that's how you shower here. They don't use toilet paper here. They use the tabo. So the roads here aren't wide or to the same standard of smoothness that we would expect in the United States. Driving here is you're putting your life in your own hands if you're driving here. You got to pay attention to the roads. There's a lot of things here that as an American coming to this country or any other country in the world, really, there's some things that you're just going to have to adjust and accept, because complaining about it and being like, oh, it's not like this in my country, or we don't do this at home, that's not going to help the situation, because you're not at home. You're not in your country. This is the Philippines. So that's just the price you got to pay for literally living in paradise.
Yeah, I think that we need to reiterate that, a lot of people just really can't come to grips with that, that
Yeah.
once you leave your homeland and you go to a country like the Philippines, I'm here in Mexico, there, I'm sure it's the same, as it is there. There are just some things that's just the way it is. That's the way it's always been. And
Right.
there's nothing that you can do to make
There's
it
nothing
different.
you can do about it. Yeah.
That's just you're gonna have to adapt, because
Right.
they're living their life. You're just gonna have to figure out how to live their life. Um,
Yes.
so this is really great information. The last thing I wanted to ask you, or two more things. What about visa? If I decide that I wanted to come there and try it on for size, how do they treat foreigners coming into the country?
Okay, so um, getting a visa here is really easy for an American. If you have an American or European passport, literally you can fly into the Philippines. This might change a little bit because of the whole, coronavirus pandemic and everything, but eventually things will start to get back to normal somewhat. Um, so I don't really know what the plan is moving forward. I do know before it was fairly simple to get a visa. You just fly to the airport, and you get your visa stamped for automatic 30 days. Americans get 30 days, 30-day visas. If you want to stay any longer, you have to go to the immigration department, tell them you are extending your stay here, and they will stamp your visa again for about, I think, $40, which is about 2,000 pesos. Um, and they'll give you another extension for 30 days. You can get 3 months to 6 months extensions as well. I think you have to apply for those. If you are have met a female or a significant other, and you decide that you want to get married here, you can apply for a resident visa. If you have a business that you've established here, you can get a business visa. If you're working here, you can get a working visa. I think the working visas are a little bit more difficult to come by. It has to be in a specific field, because of course, it's the Philippines, so they typically tend to hire Filipinos first for certain jobs than foreigners. But it's not difficult to start a business here. You can start a business here with about 10-20,000 US, and you're good to go.
So they make it easy for you as a
It is
foreigner
really
to
simple here to start a
to set
business.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. So I love it. You've embraced the culture. You have family there.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone who was thinking about or putting the Philippines on their list of places, or just to give a little nudge of motivation to someone who wanted to change their lifestyle, that was looking for a change?
I would definitely tell them to come visit here first and get out of Manila. Don't stay in Manila. Most people, when they come to the Philippines, they go to Manila. Manila is just more of the same thing. It's a big, major city, and they're all the same. They're crowded, they're congested, they stink, and it's you want to explore the islands. There's Cebu, there's Palawan, there's Mindoro, there's Tingloy. There's 7,000 islands here, and they have cruise packages here where it's like a ferry, but you can pay for about $60. You can have your own private room on the ferry and just leave Manila and cruise to another island on a ferry ship with your own private room. Travel between the islands is really cheap. You can get off plane at the Manila airport for $40 and fly to any island in the Philippines for $40. So it's really inexpensive. It's not going to kill you to just come here, explore, travel, meet some people. This country's so beautiful. Like it would take you a lifetime to see all the islands and all the beauty that's here on this island. But yeah, that's the only word of advice that I can give someone. Come visit first, because it's just looking at pictures on the internet and taking people's word for it doesn't do it justice. You need to come see this place first.
That's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does make a big difference. Well, I'm
Yeah.
excited that you have found a spot that you can call home.
Yeah.
And I wish you lots of blessings. I hope that you have many fruitful and beautiful years there.
Oh my
And
God,
and
thank
I
you.
and I want to thank you for
Yeah,
sharing your
not a
story.
problem. My pleasure.
I really appreciate you, Lawrence. All the
Yeah, thank
best.
you. Uh-huh.